to my computer. Okay, so everyone's here. All right, and we're looking at 5:15. So I got about an hour, so this will be just perfect. Let me set this aside. All right, so again, what I'm going to do is share my screen. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about just in the setup of doing a storyboard. In a class like this, there are any number of different ways of going from ideation, really simple thoughts that you might have about a short story, into thumbnails and a second set of thumbnails and doing those quickly. And if you remember from those first few weeks of class, I was saying you should be able to do thumbnails just super lightning fast. And I did a couple of drawings for you on the dry erase board. Doing it on paper is absolutely fine. There are artists who work all over the world on productions, who work on like any of your, what's the Microsoft Surface, and they just draw right into Photoshop, and you can do your board panels right in Photoshop. Some artists at Pixar do their boards on the iPad. They use an iPad Pro. They use your fingertips, but you can use one of those little nubby styluses. There's a number of different ways. I was, on prepping for today, I was thinking that, oh, I should just show you all how to do it in Storyboard Pro. But for me, I think that there's a very stark, big comparison, a very big difference between Storyboard Pro and Harmony. I know that my buddy Chu works on, he works at he's at Fox doing American Dad, and he got hired to do storyboards there. And he's a great storyboard artist. He was my mentor, my teacher at Wild Brain. He was my helper. He was my partner on A Racket in the Attic. And then he was my mentor at the Academy when I was graduating. Absolutely astonishing artist, really, really good at all kinds of character design. One of those people who doesn't have to draw the map. He could just start drawing storyboard. Absolutely incredible. And they looked at his storyboard work and they said, wow, you're really fast and you're really good. Oh, do you mind doing layouts too? And he said, what? And as it turns out, that going from storyboards that are really well done, it's an easy jump to just start doing layouts. And layouts are more like production drawings. They're you're taking the backgrounds and the foreground and the midground elements, and you're separating them if you need to, and you're giving them a final design. And he said yes. So he was doing the storyboards and the layouts, and they didn't pay him any more money. If you remember, I might have talked about him already in the class, because they're not paying him to do layouts. They're just paying him the regular storyboard rate. And then they said, oh, well, this is easy enough. This shot here is easy enough. Why don't you go ahead and animate that shot? And he's like, what? So he's doing boards, layouts, and animation. And then he's still working at Warner Brothers too. He's moonlighting at Warner Brothers. So, and he's working in Storyboard Pro. And Storyboard Pro is somewhat of a different beast. You are all going to end up using Harmony and Storyboard Pro at one point or another. But I thought I would just do this little demo for you in Harmony. And Harmony is available to all of you through the school. And someone posted that link a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about it. But I wanted to just do a couple of things. I wanted to show you just a couple of ways to set up your shots so that you could use digital instead of the paper, and the way of thinking as well. So remember, so let me do a quick little thing on Harmony. Nothing works in Harmony unless you use a color card. But this drawing layer is already selected. So if I hit color card, it's embedded. The drawing layer is embedded in this color card. So just take it and move it up and out of the color card area, and your background automatically turns white. the middle wheel on your mouse is the zoom tool, and 1 and 2 on the keyboard are the zoom tool, except that here we're in the timeline. So I'm zooming into my timeline. If I touch the story drawing, the drawing panel, then zoom is 1 and 2 on the keyboard. Harmony is not the absolute best application for keyboard shortcuts. The pencil tool is Alt /. And then once you select the pencil tool, you get a pencil tool properties, which automatically is highlighted. Click on the little arrow over here. And the new default is 5-20-5-5, which is good. That gives you a very typical pencil line. In the years past, I've had to command and yell at people to move away from the idea of letting because it's vector, letting Toon Boom clean up the vectors too much. And right here, right now, this 5-20-5-5 is good. And it looks like I just might have moved this. See, I have my magic mouse hovered. I'm not even touching this slider, but I'm just using the middle wheel on my mouse, and it's accepting those commands. So you got to be careful what you touch. You got to be careful what you touch, Harry. All right, so 5-20-5-5, that's good. That gives you a very typical pencil line. And we are at, I believe I set this at 1280 by 720, which is the very first jump to HD. In 1920 by 1080 is HD. That's the Blu-ray definition. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open up. I'm going to key this in on my first drawing layer, and I'm going to draw a little circle. And if Toon Boom doesn't clean this up, if it doesn't try to fix it too much, then that's your active pencil. So if I bring my dialog box open and I say, let's take this contour smoothing and bring it way up, and I draw a little circle, it's still behaving like a pencil. So that's not the one I'm looking for. So I want center line smoothing. So let's bring that back down to 5. And that one's fixing it. So you can kind of see that Toon Boom is kind of redirecting those lines. So be careful with your settings. Out of the box settings now are 5-20-5-5 minimum size. If you bump this up, you know, it's not, so you can see it's straightening out that line right there. Again, the whole purpose here is to make this look like a pencil line. You want it to feel as comfortable like a pencil as possible. I think it was 520 over 5. What was it? Somebody remember, was it 510-5-5? Or is it 520? All right, either one, so 515. All right, so that's the first thing. If you're curious, your space bar is the move tool. And the thing about this is, you just saw me doing this, is that this allows you to do a little sketch over here. This allows you to do your thumbnails. And you could do thumbnails outside of your picture frame for every single storyboard panel you're drawing. And then you could very simply just file export animated GIF, a SWIFT, JPEGs. You could animate, you could export all kinds of things. In Toon Boom, you can import any kind of files. You can import from the scanner, you can import movies, you can import Maya files, you can import all kinds of different things. It's actually a really robust application. All right, so what we're gonna do right here is I have a purpose in mind, and I'm gonna just jump back over here to the electric internet. And we're gonna talk about The Boy Who Drew Cats. This is a Japanese fairy tale. Lafcadio Hearn published it in 1889 as number 23 of Takahiro's Japanese fairy tales. And the fairy tale goes like this. Oh, sorry. The fairy tale goes like this. A farmer has many children. who are all hardworking, except his youngest son, Bonk, who is small and weak and only interested in drawing pictures of cats. He decides his son is not cut out to be a farmer and sends him to a temple to study with a priest. The boy spends all his time drawing cats instead of studying when he's there. The priest tells him that he's better suited to being an artist and should return home. As he sends the boy away, the priest warns the boy, avoid large places at night. It's dangerous out there. Keep to the small. And I'm reading this. So a couple of things in a couple other variations of the text that I've seen online, that the monk pays a very big attention. He spends a lot of attention to explain to the boy in almost poetic terms, avoid large places at night, keep to the small. In one version I read, he repeats this 3 times. Ashamed of being dismissed, the boy decides not to return to his father's farm, and instead he travels to another temple in hopes that he can find night's shelter, not realizing when he got there that all the priests who used to live there have long gone. They've been driven away by a giant goblin rat. When the boy arrives, he finds the place deserted. So he decides to pull out his case and his pencils and his markers, and he draws cats all over the walls. He begins to feel tired. He remembers the old priest's words and climbs inside the cabinet of the large room and goes to sleep. During the night, he hears horrible sounds, screaming and fighting. And when morning comes, he climbs out and he's discovered the corpse of a giant goblin rat. And he wonders what could have killed it. Astonished, he looks at his cats that he drew on the wall, and they now all have blood on their mouths. He is hailed by the villagers as a hero for defeating the monster and grows up to become a famous artist who only draws cats. In one version of the fairy tale, he becomes mayor of the city, but I like this one. It's really simple. Has anyone ever heard this before? Anyone ever heard the boy who drew cats? It's really cool for me because not all fairy tales come from England. They don't all come from Europe. They don't all come from just one place. Every culture has their own fairy tales. And it's nice to see a breath of fresh air, one that's not centered around Jack and the Beanstalk. And remember, for the most part, those fairy tales end up being in the public domain. So it's something that you can really explore as an artist, a storyteller, an animator. So let's just talk about this for just a moment. I want to talk about the place in the story where the little boy we're going to do a top-down map here. So this is the little boy, and he's leaving. So there's a tree right here. And he's leaving one monk's palace, and he's going to another one. And let's just say that they're nearby. And he's got to make a right turn to get it. So, and this is not in scale or anything. And these little indications here are architectural symbols for trees, just to make sure that we know we're outside. All right, so there's considerable difference between Temple 1 and Temple 2. I don't know, maybe a solid mile. And the boy is going to traverse and enter from one temple into the other. All right, and so again, there's trees. This could be a pathway. There can be all kinds of things to dress up your environment. So there can be a barrel here. There can be a wood pile here. The temple here can be complex. There can be living quarters. There can be a dining quarter. There can be an office. There can be another living quarter over here. And it could be a long bridge to maybe a temple. And again, I'm just kind of in the top-down architectural plan view, tree over here, and I'm doing the map. This is the map that I just keep expressing that these are really important. Bushes, trees, shrubberies, plants. All right, and here's the main front door. Again, we did this with our hands. This is the kitchen. This is the dining area. This is an assembly room or something. So this is a big open room. This is the room that I'm going to put the boy in when he first enters the chamber. And so on this room, there's a bunch of cabinets. And you know, I'm looking at my drawing here. I might want to combine this. I want to maybe make this a great room. So I might want to make it more rectangular like this. Just so, because I want the environment to feel very huge. This is a center line for that room, so it might have a peaked roof. And we don't need this other stuff, I'm just putting it in there. But I need this room. And we're explaining, so this is the boy. All right, and so my boy doesn't have to, in the thumbnails here, doesn't have to look more than just a build of a line of action, and he's walking. He's got his little knapsack on his shoulder that has all of his sketchbooks in it. His shoulders up. The other hand is over here. You know, and then as soon as you start getting details on him, like he might have a hat, then you start designing your character. All right, so there's a couple of things to think about here. And the first is you got your map, and we're going to enter the room here. The point of view is that the boy is going to look up into this great room here, but there's a couple of things just about doing storyboards that might make sense to you. And I'm going to switch over to just this rectangle. And let's see if I can do this cleanly. Is I'm going to take this rectangle, I'm going to make it the whole size of the stage itself. And I'm going to go to the main select tool, because then I can, hold on a second. Then I can make sure that it conforms to that ratio. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the shift key to constrain this proportion. So now I know that this is the correct aspect ratio for the stage. And now I can take this and I can move it off over here, and I can copy it and I can paste it. And now I have a couple of storyboard panels where I can really start to study. And I can paste it again. So I can really start to study what this environment is going to look like before I start drawing the storyboard panel. All right, so what I might want is, again, Alt// is your pencil tool. What I might want is this to be my first camera. And what this camera is going to see is the little boy approaching the temple, and looking up at the door. This is a good 2. And then 2 can come into 3, and 3 is going to, the camera is just moving in. And 3 is a really good place to explore the dynamics in the room right here. All right, so I'm just going to draw this really quickly. Remember that when we look at our storyboard map, a lot of times you want to use your rotate the canvas tool to see what this camera is looking at. And doing this in Harmony is brilliant, because now this camera looks out here. What does this camera see? And this camera sees, and I could just do a really quick little thumbnail like out here, and then I'll translate it over here, is that he sees the boy. The boy is walking up. So just a really quick little thumbnail, line of action. The little boy's walking, just a mid shot. So we just see his torso. The camera's right on him. We see the corner of the temple right here next, and we might see the roof. We see this tree out in the background. When we're looking at this, we're looking at the focal points. So he is right on the left focal point. We might see this far away tree right here. We see an indication of a tree, but there might be a hill. There might be a series of hills back there, and there might be another tree back there, just kind of like that. And there might be some sort of prop right here, and there might be some sort of window and a great door. So we're just kind of looking at what this camera sees as he's approaching the temple. And we're drawing outside the frame. So there he is, he's standing there, there's his little knapsack. All right, so if you understand that, then we can translate this and we can say that's what this camera saw. And we can take this, if you hit the Command key, you can automatically just go to your select tool and then rotate. I'm sorry. It takes you to the select tool just momentarily. And we're going to move this so that it's more in the orientation of the story panel. In Harmony, you hit Shift M, returns to the main stage. And so now we're just going to hit the 1 key a couple of times. And we're going to take this and we're going to move this. Now we have to go to the Command key again and just move it over here so it's closer to this panel. So let's zoom in on this. And now let's redraw it here. Hopefully this is making sense. So I want to go Option, Alt / for the pencil. And a couple of things when you're doing this is that you can play around with your levels. You can play around with all different kinds of things here. Hold on 1 second. There's all kinds of different things you can play around here, but in Harmony, we've done all this work with drawing here with this black color. And if any of your production team comes up to us, oh, Billy, what are you doing? The roughs are supposed to be in blue. Remember the teacher told us the roughs should be in blue. Then you just double click on the color, hit the color wheel mode, which is like the best color wheel picker I've ever seen, and change the black from black to blue. And everywhere you've used the blue color or the black color, it changes everywhere. Everywhere in your whole shot, everywhere you've used that quote unquote black color will change. So now let's just call this our rough color, R-U-F-F. That's my rough color. Okay, and that's brilliant. I love that about Toon Boom Harmony. Pencil, so let's just translate this drawing to maybe a cleaner storyboard rough. So head, line of action, body, hat, neck, arm, knapsack, facial. It's a little too far away to get a close up on his face. So again, we're doing this drawing over here. So set it up. You can put your perspective in there in a different color. So if I come over here and I pick a different color, and this is brand new to us now, I'm going to pick a yellow color. Again, this is the most brilliant. So this is just going to be, I'm going to call this LO for layout. And just take it over there. And just put the background in there. There's a little series of hills right there. It's in the back. I mean, it doesn't need to be on the same level. You're just doing a thumbnail. All right, so then go back to your rough color. And start putting in the other stuff. Here's the temple. And I'm looking back over here to make sure I'm hitting my focal points correctly. So this is the corner of the temple. Here's your beginning of your perspective. And if you need to, you can go back to this color and make a new color and just put maybe this in as a obnoxious purple green or something. And then go back to your drawing and you got your 1 point perspective. So then you can put your perspective in there. And remember the sky has perspective too. So you can put the perspective up in the sky. This is just a 1 point perspective. And this is really rough. Go back to your rough color. Okay, so the temple, maybe there's a window here and you've got that vanishing point. So you know how that window is going to behave to the vanishing point. Then there's a door. Maybe there's an atrium that comes out. Maybe there's something overhanging. And there's a great big door right there. There's the peak that we just saw. Maybe there's a little prop over here. Maybe there's like a little landing. There's a porch, that kind of thing. All right, and so darken in your background. There's a tree back there. And a couple of things to think about here is that with this, I'm making sure that the lines all have their own good silhouette. So we know this is a tree. We know that this is the building. And none of these lines are interfering with each other. And I'm not exaggerating things too much. All right, and then on the other side, we have the hill. And then there's a tree back there. Just a good way to just block in a tree. Jump back over to the internet. You know, what kind of tree do you want? Don't fake it. Don't try to draw a piece of broccoli. Don't draw a strange tree like this where you're really just in Asia or Europe or something. Don't draw a big baobab tree or anything. Just draw a regular tree. You know, pick one that's a maple or an oak. You know, this is a great tree. So you draw in the shape of the tree. The trunk has a slight line of action. You know, it might have a little curve to it. There might be another branch over here, something like that. All right, so that's what this camera here sees as he's walking up. And so now what he sees here is the beginning of the temple. So in this shot right here, now we're gonna pick this color, and maybe in this one, we're gonna pick a horizon that's about right here. And this one, we can exaggerate this a little bit. This is the temple. This is the front of the temple. And I'm doing this because we're looking at 3-point perspective. So there's going to be a vanishing point way down here. There's going to be a peaked roof to the temple. There might be that tree over here in the background. You can see I'm even bending the tree to behave to that vanishing point. All right, and then how does this look? Is the temple got some sort of architectural design to it? Is there a pinnacle? Is there something up here? You know, and go back and do a Japanese temple. You know, don't try to wing it. You know, what do they look like? So, you know, oh, how did I get so far away? I must have hit my mouse. So if I want to pick any of these, I've already started to draw it incorrectly, but I haven't wasted a huge amount of time. You know, I could Command Z the heck out of this, or I could just hit my eraser tool, which is Alt E, and I can make the eraser big. Where's my properties? I can make the eraser really big and then just obliterate this really quickly. Can obliterate the whole thing. The problem with doing it like that is that now I lose my board. So let's just do it like this. And a lot of times I did this for my class on Wednesday night, so I'll do it again for you. A lot of times think about jumping between your applications. So right now I'm just hitting Command and Tab on my keyboard, and you can do this on a Mac or a PC. So which temple do you like? This is really great. You know, I love this. This is really cool. So let's just borrow that. So let's go Alt / for our pencil tool. And the horizon is really close down here. So let's move the horizon down. And I love this little cant on it. That's really kind of cool. So let's just borrow that. And then we've got, oops. We got the main box. We've got this. We've got curved. We've got, oops, vanishing point. Another vanishing point. The upscale on the peak. We've got a landing that goes to the vanishing points. We'll just block this in. Got these two upper windows. And then you can zoom in, you know, by clicking on it, just double click on it. So there are square windows. They've got a little bit of architectural embellishments up on the top. There's some other work going on in here. And so in this, you can see the trees are all pointing upwards now. So that's really wonderful. So just block in those trees and borrow them. There's no reason why you can't borrow that kind of assembly. There's a big tree right here. And you can play with these lines. You can play with this. This might not even be the front. This might be like the gate of the temple. And so let's see what kind of the peaks are looking like here and just put those peaks in there. All right, and then coming down to this panel, now we want to look at what the interior of the room looks like. So this great hall, now he's going to enter that great hall. Let's go back to our pencil tool. Hold on one second. Let's do the rough color here. So in this one, well, he's already opened the doors. You can, and here's what we can do with sequencing. We can say that he's going to come up here. So in this view, in this camera right here, maybe he's going to start out by looking at the door. And maybe he even starts out like right in here where there's a sign. And the sign, this is just the story panel. And there's a sign that says, you know, Temple Mount. And so that's here. It's just, there's a word that says Temple Mount. And you zoom out to reveal that this is what so he's looking up. So he starts off by looking at Temple Mount. It's just a sign. And you pull out to reveal that there's this enormous thing here. And then in this one, he's going to come down to the front door. And again, they have all kinds of architectural embellishments here. And go back and look at all kinds of shapes and woodworking that might be on there. And then he's going to open the door. So if I take my Alt key and I just copy this and then paste it again, I can move it and I can do a series of movements here where he's now opening the door. And so I could have copied everything, but I didn't want to because I want him to open the door. So I'm gonna put a little arrow here, opening the door. You know, and I can do it again. I can say paste and then hold this down. This is what I meant about sequencing here. So still with your pencil now, the door is fully open. And he's just gonna go in there. He's gonna go inside the door there. So now I'm gonna hit paste again. And now this is close enough. So, and this is what I wanted to study about going inside the room. So inside the room, we see a vanishing point, horizon, and we're gonna do 1 point perspective. We're gonna see the end of this hall down here. And so we're going to take just a really quick look at the end of that building. And, you know, pick a shape for the room that has a good relative proportion to it, and then your vanishing points. Put everything towards the vanishing point. It's a huge room. You know, and if you wanted to make it even bigger, you can make the end wall even smaller. Or maybe there's a divider in that room. There's some marquetry on the floor or something, but these walls are huge. Maybe there's a window here and a window here, but the rest of it is just walls. In the view over here, we see that there is a peak So we can borrow that peak and make the room something like that. It's just sketching this out. And then see, so this is the environment that he's going to draw his cats in. And so one of the things that I wanted to say about doing it like this is that you've taken one drawing, one frame from your Harmony storyboard, and you've thought about your map, you've thought about doing his approach, you've got an exterior, you got 3 cameras, you got multiple poses per panel here, and now you can start to draw like the hero drawing inside the room. And so what we were looking at here is maybe he's going to take this wall to draw on first. So he's going to, in this view right here, we're just going to put the horizon about right here. Then we're going to draw the one end of the room. We're going to draw the peak. Maybe the peak comes up so it cuts through there. And so this is his palette. This is what he's got to draw with on. So there's the window, and maybe there's a baseboard or something. And so in storyboard or in Harmony, we're teasing it like it's storyboard. We could take all of this like this, and we can copy this. We could go to this next frame and just paste it. And so I don't know why it's doing that. I should not have my onion skin on. Maybe it did it twice. Yeah, it did it twice. So in this view, so now I'm on, so you can see what I've done here is I have 2 frames, and I'm just exploring what the idea of drawing his cats on the wall is going to look like. So he's got 1 cat over here. He's got another cat over here. It's crouching, tails up in the air. There's another one here that's a little more childlike. And so what you can do is then you can go over here and you can explore what a planar view of drawing these cats might look like. And so you can zoom in on it. You can say he's drawn all different kinds of cats. All right, so going back 1 frame, that went too far. You can see the way that drawing in Harmony is a really nice way of thinking about your story panels. One of the reasons for this is because all you have to do now is, instead of doing that convoluted thing we did last week, which is fine, and that's production, has certain production value to it, is now all you would have to do is file, export, movie, and you've got your animatic. Everyone understand what I'm getting at here? And remember too, when I say do the movie, all of this stuff outside here is not going to render. So you can do all kinds of studies here. You can draw outside the story panel. You can say, oh, you know what? I really liked that temple. So let's take that temple and let's copy the image. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's save the image as a Japanese temple and save it. It's going to be the desktop. Hopefully it's on the desktop. I don't see it showing up here. Oh yeah, it's there. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Harmony and say File. We're on frame 1. File, import, image. Go to my desktop. Find JT for Japanese temple. Oh, and it's showing up as a file type you don't like. Toon Boom doesn't like it. So let's try to save it as a JPEG. So I think what I accidentally did was click on something. So it doesn't like it. Let's well anyway, let's just pick a different temple, or let's see if we can. No, it's got to be one of those websites that it's a photo website, and these are locked. So let's take a screenshot. We really like this, so let's just take a screenshot of it. And now we'll be able to do it. So it's going to show up as just a screenshot. In Harmony, file, import, oops. Image, desktop, screenshot. Open it. Okay. It's going to show up right there. And it doesn't need to do anything. So just hit your command key. I think it will show up in the middle of that. It's showing up as a background plate right here. And so if you want, you can just touch the background plate and slide it out of the way. So it's Alt S for select. I don't know why it won't let me select. There we go. All right, so you got the idea. You can either Command Tab and look at it, or you can import the image right into your stage right there. And it's a really great way of yet another way of doing thumbnails and then your board panels. F and G key navigate through the different keys in your timeline. In your timeline, if you want this first panel to be expanded in terms of time, you just hit plus on the keyboard. I'm hitting the plus way off on the right side of my keyboard, and you can make it as long as short as you want. Go to the second panel, and you can make it as long as you or short as you want by hitting the plus and minus keys on the keyboard. Hit save, and if you need to go into one particular shot and add an empty drawing between a shot, you can do that too. So if you wanted to add, so now I've got this set up, and now I've got an empty drawing here. And then you can take this shot and copy it and go here and paste it. And now I've got this shot, and then I can come back to here, and maybe I'm going to explore in this shot, oops, sorry, with my onion skin on. The shot before and the shot after, and they're identical. So that's my onion skin. But maybe I don't need that because this is just going to be a shot of our main character looking all happy. So now we're going to do a close-up of him, and he's going to be all proud of his work. He's going to be looking around. You know, he's looking up this way and this way. You know, so he's happy. He's got a little hat on, his ears. You know, so you're just sketching and thinking. So that is lasting for this amount of time. You know, in the background, we might have just some oblique lines to show that he's in this great room. So it's the other view. And he's happy. His eyebrows in there. And even here, you might want to say, I want another expression. He's going to look from here, and then in this panel with my onion skin on, he's just going to look over this way. So he's looking from one position up over to the other, and maybe in this one he changes his line of action. So he actually moves his whole body. So, and now this ear is visible on his little hat. So this is another way of just walking through your sketches, you know, going through and figuring out how you want your thumbnails to direct your main boards. All right, so I thought I would just show you that. Toon Boom is a really great tool. This is just the first part of it. And there's a couple of things here I have set as preferences that I should go over. And that is that in this color palette, the color palette is only available when you're drawing either with the pencil or the brush tool. And when you're drawing with the pencil tool, we're in pencil mode right now. I'm just going to draw a very strong line. And I hit this mains or the sub select tool and I cut through it. There's going to be a series of points along the center line. And you can move those and you can redirect your, but it just takes the center line. But if I draw with the brush and I use that same color, and now I use the direct select, there will be a series of points on the outside and on the inside. And you can play around the thickness if you want. So there's variations of drawing with the brush or the pencil. It's a nice way to think about it. I have this set as drawing colors in the swatch mode. If you just do not swatch, it's really hard to see what you're looking at here. So I always use swatch mode because then the name of the color is right on top of it. But if you want to alter this color, like we had just done before, you can't double click on the middle, because if you double click on the middle, then that's going to allow you to change the name. So maybe you want to do rough. You have to, if you want to change the color, you have to click on the little blue highlight. Then you'll get your multi-color wheel mode. And I've made jokes in the past that this multi-color wheel mode is so awesome that it should be awarded the Distinguished Metal Cross or the Nobel Peace Prize, because it's just so wonderful watching how the color changes. You wish that your Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign could change colors just like this. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so just a couple other things. I know that some of your, so this is just a way of introducing you to Harmony. And so you're just drawing. If you were going to do tone, you could paint with a large paintbrush behind it. You know, you could use one of these stipple brushes or chalk brushes and draw on a layer behind it. There's all kinds of things you can do in Harmony. It's a great tool. You might, if you haven't introduced yourself to it, it is available through the school. There's just tons of great things you can do with it. Remember that you are in the what's called OpenGL view. If I click on this little flower, it just shows me what it would render like. You go back to this flower. I always draw in the drawing mode instead of the camera mode, which it just gives you what the camera sees. And I usually don't like that. I like seeing where the camera is, so I always draw in the camera mode. It's my weird idiosyncrasy. So there you go. That's the main introduction to Harmony if you wanted to use it. And it's not too late. You could still do your final boards in Harmony. And for some of you, the idea of being able to move shots around is just move them around in the timeline itself. So I'm going to